Hey, everybody. Happy holidays. Welcome to the Ball and Breakfast podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Santa Wayne over there. We got jolly old Saint Wayne in the house here to, go through some, wish list items for us with the White Sox, with our team. We've had a pretty, quiet holiday season. Not much stuff is getting delivered to our door. We're not getting to the mall. We don't want to wait in line. So, the White Sox have had to deal with, only, one real signing, today that's, besides the Clevenger deal that really stood out, and we'll get right into that. So I guess I'll just kick it over to Wayne to, talk about Andrew Benintendi. We signed him for a 5-year, $75 million deal to be our next left fielder. So, Wayne, what was your reaction to that signing? And, what do you think overall so far for the White Sox?
Well, thanks, Pat. Yeah, I like to call myself, I guess, Southside Santa here in this case. So, but I definitely had mixed feelings. I did kind of call it out, I think, in a previous episode that Andrew Benintendi was kind of on top of my list of like maybe top 3 outfielders. He does a lot of the things that I think we wanted and sought for in the free agency market in terms of an outfielder. He's left-handed. He plays good defense. Hits for really good average and gets on base. The one thing obviously is that he's maybe not the best power hitter, right? But he does everything else pretty well, and has a decent slugging percentage overall historically. So I guess the biggest thing is he's what our highest in terms of overall dollars from a White Sox signing ever, which it's somebody that hit 5 homers in the previous season. That's the top dollar free agent that the White Sox get. But I guess it's better than getting absolutely nobody. And Benintendi, Gold Glove caliber type of outfielder out there. So overall, I can't complain about that. Helps I guess whenever you do have those kind of outfielders out there, that helps with the rest of the outfield. If you do want to move Luis Robert out to right field or something like that, so he's not diving into people or diving into walls, getting hurt, things of that nature. He's a little bit more reserved, and then maybe we can focus more on a center fielder, in that aspect, and getting somebody that can play that position a little bit more so Kevin Kiermaier, right? That kind of thing. So that's, I think, my initial take on it. But overall, I like it. It's just, obviously, I guess my mixed feeling was 5 homers, that's the top White Sox free agent, historically, that's a little nuts. But yeah, what do you think about it, Pat?
Yeah, I actually love the signing. I thought 5 years, 75. For us, is a big deal, obviously, as a franchise. But for most, it's kind of a drop in the bucket these days for what I would think is a borderline all-star outfielder. He did have 5 home runs last year. He was dealing with a, broken right hamate bone. So I think, maybe that was, dealing to some of the power outage with his bat in that sense. But always a great contact guy, good on base guy, above average outfielder. I just think he fits perfectly into our team, both our lineup, also into the defense. And, he's got a World Series under his belt, and he's 28 years old. And, when I kind of look at this signing and I compare it to other ones around the league, to look at, a guy like Brandon Nimmo, who's going to get, $20 million a year, plays far less games, probably has similar on base, numbers as Benintendi. But I don't think is accomplished as much as him, to be able to, only have Benintendi for 5 seasons, going through his, age 33 season versus, paying somebody, 8 years and, starting off when they're, probably 29. So we don't have to pay for the back half of Benintendi's 30s, which I think comes to our advantage too on this signing. It's enough security for his good years, but then there's less downside risk with the back half of this type of deal. So I'm comfortable with it. I also look over at our north side, team in Chicago, the Chicago Cubs. They just signed Dansby Swanson, to a 7-year, $177 million deal. Benintendi has more career WAR than Swanson, and they're both the same age. And again, it's one of those situations where, maybe Swanson is showing he's coming into his prime, and maybe he does have, a tick more upside than Benintendi. But in the same sense, it's if you go career number to career number, Benintendi's got him beat on OPS plus, batting average, on base percentage. So what else, could we ask for in terms of, the amount of spend that we put into this signing and then what we're actually getting out of it, based on his market value. So super happy, bring him aboard, bat him second, bring some stability to our team that's been, oft injured. We need a guy who can play, some games, and I think Benintendi will be able to do that for us.
Yeah, I mean that's the key thing is playing games because last year we've always been hurt. It always seems like in the past couple of seasons. 2020 we kind of just made it past 193 games there and finished first, but we definitely battled injuries. But Benintendi's had I think 500 plate appearances like basically every year except 1 year, where he got hurt there. So, but yeah, and since then he's had several seasons already with 500 plate appearances. So yeah, a player they can plug in there, bat second, we'll get 500 plus plate appearances. Again, knock on wood on the whole health thing and everything there. But yeah, I think that in terms of, hey, if he can hit, five more than 5 homers, then I feel like, the signing is justified. And like have a decent OPS, maybe at least above 750. I think that's kind of the bare minimum there for him. And he can definitely, historically, I think that's a good bet. So, overall, like I don't know how you can really knock it. Yeah, he doesn't hit 20 homers every year or anything like that, but still, if he can hit, in the teens or something like that, have an OPS of like 750 plus, play great defense. I think that's as much as you can ask for him, for the next couple of seasons that we have him. So,
yeah, agreed. I mean, his season average over his career is 16 home runs. So if he gives us that, totally happy. I mean, I think that's what we were in the market for. Even with a guy like Nemo, I don't think he's going to put many more balls over the wall than that. So this is the kind of table setter I think we need. He knows, Pedro Grifol, a lot of the other Royals coaches, on our team being with them, in 2022 last year and the year prior. So it's good. There's some familiarity there. It's not like he's going to be completely on his own. He played probably a lot of games, on the South Side when he was with the Royals. So in the same sense, I think he's got some maybe familiarity with our park. And, the outfield for us doesn't seem like really sprawling. So I don't think even, as from a defensive perspective, we're going to be asking for a ton from him. So, hopefully it's just a good fit.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree on that. And, I mean, Rick Hahn has definitely talked about trades. I think being a little bit more so of the mode of acquiring new talent as opposed to like more free agent signings. So I think he's, maybe more capped out. So yeah, I think that's the way to go overall for him. And Benintendi, I definitely think at least takes one part out of the puzzle pieces I think that the White Sox roster has right now.
Yeah. So I think we're both good with that. Looking at what's coming up here for free agency, the holiday season, and our White Sox, like you were saying, they've been looking a lot in the trade market. There are some free agents left at the positions that we're still, seeking. We're kind of in the, hunt a little bit for a catcher. Second base is obviously a hole, and right field is kind of up in the air too. I guess if we look at those 3 positions and just how those are, still needs for us, if we're going to go through our wish list here for the holiday season, maybe let's kick it off with the catcher position. And, Wayne, is there a catcher out there or two that, come to mind for you, or somebody, could be, low hanging fruit for us in a trade?
Yeah. I mean, I think Sean Murphy was like the one, everybody was kind of eyeing on, but, I was thinking like, possibly like someone like Gary Sanchez. I think he's available and everything. So, if you want that decent bat thing there, he played in the he played at the Twins, right? So there's definitely some familiarity I think with the team overall. So I think that was like maybe the one player I was looking on more so from the free agency market. He definitely hasn't batted for average. I think for the past couple of seasons has been definitely much more of a slugger. So in a way, he'll fit right in. So, so I don't know. I feel like he could be like a decent signing. Has had high upside. I think early in his career was like kind of like an MVP candidate in some cases, and kind of just has tapered off there. But yeah, I from the catcher standpoint, like I don't know if there's a player I would necessarily want to trade like for some decent farm for. So, but yeah, I think Gary Sanchez would probably be the one person I would look and consider for. But then after that, it's like I'm hoping that a healthy, decent year, from Yasmani Grandal, a bounce back year would occur. But yeah, Pat, what do you think? Who do you have, from the catcher standpoint?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, we've got Grandal signed to some serious money. I thought Sebi played pretty well for us as a backup. I mean, he had probably his best season as far as batting average is concerned, and I feel like maybe he's more of a 4A, AAA type player overall. But your hope is, I think, first is getting Grandal back to full health. Can he give you 110, 120 games behind the plate, and then have Sebi come in and spell us? But I guess just looking around the league, if there were, some players that I thought, might be interesting at the catcher position, I've been hearing, at least from Jay's Digest, they've talked a lot about a Danny Jansen, trade possibility, and they've talked about the White Sox. And I think what gets kind of maybe a little annoying to me is I see Liam Hendriks being tossed around a lot in these speculative, trades. And it's always, well, we'll give you, our backup second baseman, or our second or third option at catcher, and you'll just give us the second or third best closer in baseball. And it's like, no, that's not really how it works. Like, I know he's making some pretty decent money, and he's going to be on probably a 2-year $30+ million contract here left remaining. But if we're going to give up our lockdown closer, at least one guy that's been thrown out there by most Jay's coverage has been Danny Jansen. Jansen batted 260 plus last year, had 15+ home runs, 27 years old. I think he's still controllable for a couple of years. Seems like a good catcher. What I'm kind of thinking is, okay, if we're going to go the Hendricks route and we're going to possibly, get rid of him, I would like to see us also maybe package Whit Merrifield in that kind of deal. I think that would, kill two birds with one stone for us. If we brought back Merrifield, he had 0 WAR last year, batted 250 with 11 home runs. I mean, not a Whit Merrifield type year, but he's the kind of player, if you could put him in at second base or even right field, and bring back Danny Jansen. I think, if we gave them Hendricks and possibly, a Gavin Sheets, I know they're looking for left-handed hitting and, somebody who could maybe play a little first base, a little DH. If they want to throw him out in the corner outfield, I wouldn't, advise it, but they could do it. And maybe there's some other scratch, maybe an extra reliever or something else we could throw in there. But I just thought maybe the structure of that kind of deal made a little bit more sense for me because, they'll still have Alejandro Kirk and Gabriel Moreno as their catchers. That's fine at that position. And they've got Santiago Espinal and Kevin Biggio who can play second. So it's like, you don't really need Merrifield and you don't really need Jansen. They're good players and obviously you want to have them, but I think they would love to have a lockdown closer at the end of their bullpen, right in front of Jordan Romano. And, they brought over Eric Swanson and Teoscar Hernandez deal. It's just like, is it a wish list item for us? Like, I don't know. I mean, if we got rid of, Liam Hendriks in any sort of deal, like we're hurting ourselves. But I think the second part of this is if we were to kind of go off on that kind of route, there are 3 relievers out there, Andrew Chafin, Taylor Rogers, and Michael Fulmer, who, maybe they're not, your lockdown closers, but maybe by committee, we could figure something out with Kendall, Graveman and Ronaldo Lopez, others. So that's a lot to unpack, I guess, just for the catcher position. But I just was thinking scenarios, and I think there's a lot to break down in this. But feel free to react however you feel appropriately.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up some good points about that, and the whole Liam Hendriks thing. It's like, I think the Moneyball perspective on this. I'm just gonna take this a little bit.
Dang.
I have to like always adjust it. I feel like or whatever. But no, I think from the Moneyball perspective, I think closers have been like the kind of overrated like position there, because if you're gonna like pay $20 million for like one player that pitches like one inning, then it doesn't really make sense as much, right? So if you want to take that perspective, I think it definitely makes sense there. So if we were to trade Liam Hendriks and get a decent catcher there, I mean that's somebody that can be an upgrade. But then it's like, then you have Grandal. Maybe we can do something with his contract, or we kind of just eat his contract a little bit, just have him kind of go on the bench, and then hopefully we get a trade partner or something like that, in the trade deadline, and deal with his contract there. So, I mean, that's a potential possibility there. Or maybe we're able to trade Hendricks and then use his his salary basically to, sign some other type of free agent, to fill up the second base position a little bit there. Or sign another outfielder of some sort. So something like that, I think it definitely brings a lot of flexibility. But I think, it from a signal perspective, I think towards fans, it's like, wait, you're trading like the best closer in the game. Like, how are we to be considering ourselves contenders when we are doing something like that? Unless, yes, we do sign, a Michael Fulmer, or we're really banking that, Garrett Crochet comes back and like is Tommy John is like cured his everything, all his elements there. So it's just a lot of unknown, I think, to do that by trading, Liam Hendricks there. So, yeah.
And I'm with you. I think it's kind of dangerous. If we look at the Guardians, they have a pretty lockdown bullpen with, Clase and Karinchak and Stefan. It's like, I wouldn't want to just make this trade unless we're getting back some serious, support, some serious help at, multiple positions for us. I think it's interesting just because it's been floated so much right now, but I'm kind of on that side of like, I'd rather do a lower risk, free agent signing or just a very low end trade. And I guess the other trade that I was thinking about was, maybe, ringing up the Dodgers. They've got 3 catchers. They've got Will Smith, who is an all-star. Their top prospect is Diego Cartaya, and he's pretty much on his way up. So Austin Barnes, who's 32 years old, he's been in, a World Series, been in multiple playoff series, had better numbers. I think, a couple seasons ago, I think he batted like 212 with 8 home runs last year. But, could we give them Joe Kelly back and say, hey, we can make that money match? And, is there another reliever in our bullpen that maybe, of help to you guys because you're not bringing back, Kimbrel, and you may have some holes there. And obviously you're short up at catcher, but, maybe an Austin Barnes for a reliever trade, like maybe that's something that's more palatable, something that's more, achievable for us.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I think that's a good one there. From a trade pit standpoint, I think that makes sense. If you do have kind of three players that can fill that position, then might as well, I guess, kind of get rid of one there. The only other one that I would consider, but it might be a haul for a little bit for us, is it Dalton Varsho? Catcher / outfielder. Definitely a good bat with some speed out there. Essentially kind of like a fantasy baseball extraordinaire, being able to play the catcher and then also outfield position. So, if we do want to add that second outfielder, but then maybe we also want to spell Yasmani Grandal a little bit too in the catcher position. He could make sense, but him coming off a great season, still on a good contract and everything, it could definitely be a little bit more of a haul. Might have to get rid of one of our top prospects. So, but if we are kind of really trying to consider like this is kind of the prove it type of year, it might be worth taking a shot on something like that. So, yeah.
I think that's a great name to float out there because the Astros have been pretty much hot on the D-backs heels for Varsho. And it sounds like, with their outfield mix, they, bringing up Corbin Carroll, got Alec Thomas out there, Jake McCarthy, and Varsho. It's like, they've got a handful of young guys that they can't all play at the same position. So they have been kind of putting guys on the block. I think for us, if we were to happen to be in the mix for a deal like that, I think you're right. We'd have to part with, one of our top prospects. It could be a Colson Montgomery, or maybe it's a combination of like Lenin Sosa and Norge Vera, or, I don't know if we'd want to pry Schultz out of our bullpen, or, I should say our top prospect list for pitching just of yet. But it's like, what would the Diamondbacks actually be looking for? I know they're, a little thin in the infield, probably love to have some more pitching. So, we might have to give up, a few names and, really tilt the balance to kind of win them over in that sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, it really depends, I think, on what Rick Hahn wants to do, but I would love it if they were to do something like that. I guess as a fan that really wants some immediate action to happen and having to kind of, I guess, stop waiting, for these prospects that we're getting, and we're not really even, nurturing them properly, I feel like. So, if we're not going to do that, then might as well, shoot our shot and try to get a little bit more established players that, like you were saying, with the Dodgers and catcher position, the Diamondbacks, in the outfield a little bit, like, some players that they can spell that we definitely need. So, those are good ones.
I also think it's essential that whoever we're bringing back is controllable and could be on multiple seasons of arbitration or, still on a rookie deal, because we're proving that we're not really like interested in paying, folks too much. And, with Tim Anderson kind of coming due in a couple of years, it's like a lot of that talk started to come up. Like, are we willing to go, 10 years or 8 years for whatever it could be? It could be anywhere from now, like I would say 150 to 300 million. It just really depends on how good he is over the next season or so. So I don't think we're in that market. So again, anybody we're bringing back and we're dishing prospects for, like, I feel like you need to come with, years, and they got to be really cheap. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. What's next on your wish list?
So if that's catcher position, let's look at second base. I have a pipe dream. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I'm happy to put it out there because I haven't really heard it ever come on the airwaves from any of our Chicago White Sox podcast acquaintances. But man, after last season, we were talking about, guys with, high wars and, just looking down those lists and things that, we wouldn't really suspect. And Tommy Edman was a name that just came up, and we were both kind of jaw dropping because I think he fell in like the top 5 of WAR last year. And there's really no good reason for St. Louis to part with him. He's controllable through 2026 through arbitration. He's a fixture in that lineup. They're contending for playoffs. So I was just really trying to think, like, okay, if this was my wish, because we need a second baseman, we need a right fielder, and that guy plays both positions, and he's young and he's great. So I was kind of thinking, would they even consider, would they slam the phone down if we offered Lucas Giolito, Lennon Sosa, or Colson Montgomery, maybe dangled Oscar Colas. I don't know if it would take more than that. It possibly could. But I think with that, if we were to swing that deal, get a cheaper guy back, get rid of Giolito's money for one season, I think St. Louis has a pretty thin rotation. They're always looking for, new guys to bring in because of guys like Jack Flaherty going down an injury. Wainwright's going to retire. The back end of that staff isn't exactly established. So it's like you bring over Giolito, maybe he pitches to his normal standards, maybe around a 3.50 ERA to a 4, and you can extend him in that. I mean, I think maybe if they were to set up some sort of extension, with that kind of deal, maybe that would at least come of mild interest to them. I think if we were to get rid of Giolito, we could go, re-sign Johnny Cueto, put him back in our rotation with the money that we got, to save in an Edman deal. But, I'm looking at this. It's going to take one of our starters, who I think is one of our core starters. I think it would take, 1 or 2 of our infield prospects, perhaps an Oscar Colas, maybe it's a Jorge Vera if they wanted more. Again, it's probably not something the Cardinals would be, on the hunt for or the prowl for. But if, we knocked on their door and, blew them away, could you possibly envision a scenario like that and what it might mean for the White Sox?
Yeah. And, maybe we could get somebody else in there a little bit too. Just like, hey, can you add in like a Lars, new bar or something like that, right? Just a little bit more, to sweeten the pot. Then for Giolito, I think that makes sense. If we were to go that right, like you were saying, if we were to bring back Johnny Cueto, who again, if we're gonna go off last year's numbers, he was one of our best pitchers, top 3, right? So if that's the case, then if we can get that similar production from Johnny Cueto, add in Tommy Edman, predominantly playing second base. And then add in another, maybe a kind of a spot starting type of outfielder from the Cardinals, like a Lars or whatever. Then I think that can definitely be, something that's, I guess, palatable on there. So, but yeah, I think Rick Hahn's definitely going to have to do some shifting, using, kind of factoring the, how much people are making. And Giolito definitely has that. He's got a big contract, but he definitely has some good upside, I think, still. Just had a bad season last season. If some, team says, hey, we can speed up that fastball a little bit, then, and, help out with his location, then I think, that's something that, a team can definitely gamble upon. Because when he's good, he's great. So, yeah.
I agree. Did you have any wishes here at second base or things you've been looking at in the market?
I did. I think one name that's popped up, a bunch that I would love, I think, to kind of take a chance on is Brandon Lowe, right? You kind of look at what the Rays always do. They always seems like, yeah, we'll trade whatever players if you give us some decent prospects. And Brandon Lowe kind of had a down year last year. Was hurt and everything. So maybe the Rays are like, okay, that's enough for us. Let's see what we can get from him. If some teams are kind of desperate for second baseman, which in a way we are, and then he's also left-handed at bat. He hit 39 homers last season. Still has pretty decent contract overall. So I think, yeah, if we were to give up a probably some decent prospect, or maybe hey, they want to, I feel like the Rays are always wanting some bullpen help. So if we were to trade him like Ronaldo Lopez or something like that, and or some other players, then I think that could help sweeten the pot. But I definitely see like Brandon Lowe can definitely be a great fit. Somebody that we can just plug right into our roster. Now with Benintendi probably bat in the lower half, but really do some damage, I think, overall. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually had him on my list too as a trade candidate, because I see what you're saying. It's like number one, the 39 home runs you're talking about was in 21, because last year he had just like an off year. His back was flaring up, and that's the one thing I think everybody's worried about is like, will this guy just come with some injuries? But I see his upside. He's got even some on-base potential too with all the power, plays positions that we need him to play. I was thinking, just kind of given that he's controllable until 25, could we throw him, Jorge Vera or Lenin Sosa, maybe throw in, Jake Berger, Gavin Sheets, like one or the other, just to see, what it would take. I don't know what the combination of those guys would be. I know Tampa loves to have guys that are just super controllable. They love, high octane pitchers. At least for right now, they could shift over Isaac Paredes at second base, and they've got Yandy Diaz at first. So it's like they don't really need Brandon Lowe, but he's definitely a good player. So I think, yeah, that was a good recommendation. I think our team would do well, acquiring him.
Yeah, and they did pretty decent without him, I think, last year. I know, maybe it would. I think they just saw, I was like, yeah, he's great. Like he was great. Probably got our MVP in that 39 homer season and everything like that. But then, like, I think after last season, they're like, we won a pretty decent amount of games without you. Like, so I definitely, they're very much a sabermetrics type of team. It's like, it wasn't too much of a drop off when you were hurt and everything. So I think we can do without you, and then deal you for maximum value and reload, because nobody goes to their games and they don't have the cap or the salary, the team salaries for that. So yeah, I think that could be definitely a good pick there. But yeah, did you have anybody else?
Yeah, we've had all this. There's been a lot of conversations with the Mets, and I actually look at New York and both teams as both good trade partners for us. But the first one, it's kind of like, choose your poison. I think with the kind of deal I'd look at. I mean, I think for us, looking at the Mets and now, just acquiring Carlos Correa, they've obviously got Eduardo Escobar, who can play third base still. He can also play second. They've got Jeff McNeil, who's an all-star, and Luis Guillorme, who's just, a pretty serviceable infielder, all around the diamond for them. So it's like they've got a lot of guys to play very, few positions, and they've been looking for bullpen help. So, when they were dropping the Hendricks, name in speculations, I mean, I think the best thing I heard was, we got to ask for Jeff McNeil in that situation. Not that we're going to get him, because he's almost a 6'4" player and coming off a batting title, like perfect, left-handed, setup guy in their on their team. But I think it's fair to say, if we're going to trade you one of the best closers in the game, like we're going to be asking for one of the best second basemen in the game. So, could we add more depth to that offer to sweeten that for them? Possibly. Are the Mets the type of team that are going to take on a lot of prospect value? Like, probably not. So I see that as kind of like the one for one that could possibly be interesting. But if we don't go that route, could we do Joe Kelly for Eduardo Escobar or Matt Foster for Luis Guillorme? Like, possibly. I think bullpen is an area of strength for us, and it's, an infielder of theirs. It could be, a strength of theirs, that we're looking for. So I think that's where the good matches could come into play. I'd be comfortable with any of those deals. And the only other Hendricks deal I would put out there is, what if we go after Gleyber Torres on New York? They're bringing up Anthony Volpe. They've got Oswaldo Cabrera, who's pretty much ready for the pros. You could slot in at second base for him. You could move over DJ LeMahieu again. But Gleyber was a 4-WAR player last year, 24 home runs, 75 RBIs. He's on an arbitration deal right now of $9 million, and I think he'll be free after 25. But New York could eat the money that Hendricks goes over on Torres, and that might give us a little bit more capital to spend maybe on some free agents just to fill up maybe the catcher position or something else. But would you do a Hendricks deal for Gleyber Torres, or were any of the Mets deals interesting to you at all?
Yes, in a heartbeat. I would definitely do it. I would even do it for even like Oswald Peraza, I think, even too, if we were to go that route. So, because that would certainly free up, some cash for us, to load up on other parts from a roster. I feel like that's the biggest thing about, trading away Liam Hendricks. But then, if we were to get like a really good prospect, like you were saying, the Yankees have a roster kind of already equipped, and they're, it always seems like they're kind of in that win now mode. And especially if, it's a position where they have multiple people kind of, it's like, might as well kind of get rid of them, get rid of one so we can get max value on another kind of hole we need. And I always feel like, with the Yankees, they always kind of want that bullpen help. And, they always want the best. It seems like they always need the best closer or something. So I feel like, with him, they always had the history. I think Aroldis Chapman too, just kind of this intimidating force. So, with Hendricks, I feel like that fits kind of right in their alley, with their kind of win now type of mentality. Same thing with the Mets. I would definitely love the McNeil trade and all that, but maybe not likely. But I think any of those players, I think would be great. But I would, personally, I wouldn't mind trading Hendricks though for like a really good middle infield prospect though still, and somebody that is major league ready. And Oswald Peraza, like he did play in the majors last year, so he does have some footing in there. So I think he can probably come into this next coming year and contribute immediately in the middle infield there. So I would be happy with him, and like you were saying, like, hey, he's going to be controllable for the next couple of years. So from the Yankees perspective, it's like, why not? But when the best closes in the game for controllable middle infielder with a lot of upside, why not? I would definitely do that.
That's where my heart rate starts to go up a little bit. Like I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying too, because it is kind of smart. It's like it brings us back to when we were restructuring our team and bringing on guys that could be franchise cornerstones. And like, could Oswald Peraza be that? Like, it's possible. I'm just worried, like, as we're in our window, would that be a lot of responsibility to hand over to somebody? I know he batted 300 last year, so it's not like he was shook in his first 50 at bats or so. But to pry off the one of the best closers in the game, I feel like I'd like to know that we're getting back a controllable near all-star level caliber second baseman, and that's like undisputable. But we'll just have to see if that deal did go down. I don't know if I'd fully hate it, but I think that I'm only parting with Hendricks right now unless we're getting like major league ready, borderline all-star talent back.
No, for sure. I think that makes sense. And I definitely think that we are trying to win now in a way. So, but it's definitely one of those hedges. I think, well, Jerry, like, spend the money, man. How many more years you got on this earth, right? Just go YOLO, like literally go YOLO. So, I would definitely do it. If it were between Gleyber Torres and Oswaldo Peraza, then I would definitely take Gleyber, because I know what to expect from him and everything. So, but in this case, I definitely still think that Peraza would definitely be a good contributor. And he played at Yankee Stadium, like that's the hardest as it gets basically there. So, and they liked him over there, so he did well. So I definitely think he could contribute, though. I think second base for sure in this next coming season. So
for sure. Did you have any more second basemen before we move on to the outfield?
I think that was it. I don't know. It's definitely one of those, like, do we want somebody to promote internally? In terms of like, okay, like we did have multiple people kind of tryouts like with Romy Gonzalez, right? And Lennon Sosa as well. And they did okay. I think Lennon Sosa had a good like start and then just tapered off from there. Whereas like Romy Gonzalez, he showed some upside. He's definitely a little bit more of a power type of second baseman, power hitter type of second baseman. I think he hit like 24 homers in like 2021 in the minors and everything. So has some pop there. But would that be ideal? No, I would definitely prefer, like, if we were to do all these trades, free up trading Liam Hendricks and freeing up some cash for another type of player, then it would be nice if we can get Gene Segura, right? I think that would be ideal. Or bring back Elvis Andrews, who had really good season, kind of betting there, and then kind of be insurance too, just in case if Tim Anderson isn't fully healthy this upcoming season. So I think either of those players could be great. Adam Frazier got signed, so I think that was like, that shucks and all that. But I think those players would probably be on the top of my list from the free agent standpoint. Again, if we were to shift around some salary.
Yeah, I don't want to give up just yet on Lenyn Sosa. Romy Gonzalez probably had the better season of the two out of those two. It's just tough because you look at both of them and you're like, we don't know what we have here just yet. I mean, we love the upside that Lenyn Sosa showed at AA, AAA last year. Had like a monster season. Is one of our top 5 prospects in our system. He's 22, and we're trying to win playoff games. We're trying to win a World Series supposedly. So it's like that's a lot of responsibility to hand over him at 22 years old without much MLB experience. Romy, I don't know what his ceiling is. Is he just a nice backup to league average starter if he does hit his full peak in the pros? Like, maybe. I think Sosa might be just a tick more talented than him, but I think in either case it's the reason why we've been on the prowl, why we're trying to see if we can bring somebody over. It's just got a little bit more experience there, is like produced at this level and somebody we can have some confidence in. So the only other free agent like kind of goes back to our free agency prediction episode, but Jerkson Profar is still out there. Hasn't played a lot of second base. At least last year he didn't play a game, but came up as a middle infielder. Could he be somebody who plays second and maybe a little outfield? I don't know, but I think that's a pretty good rundown. Moving on to the outfield, I had a couple of guys on my list, but Wayne, I wanted to kick it over to you in case you had any blockbuster trades or free agents out there you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, free agent signings, man. I don't know. It's definitely kind of hard. Like, I think some players that, could be, I guess, reasonable maybe for us. Maybe we take like a Bradley Zimmer or something like that, just see what he can do. I don't know. I'm not too impressed too much, at least on the free agent standpoint, from the players that are available out there. I think one player I considered was like maybe a Michael Brantley, short-term type of deal, but I think he just re-signed there with Houston. So I think that was like one player. I wouldn't mind someone like maybe it's funny. I think I heard, was it Nelson Cruz, right? Was talked about is like, oh yeah, I would love to play for the White Sox, but he's definitely much more of the designated hitter, and that's where Eloy is right now and everything looks like. So I would be interested in seeing, and I don't know what the free agency or what the internal talks are, but it could be interesting to see what would happen if, Colson Montgomery, right? If we were like, hey, you know what? I think it was Rick Hahn that said this, or one of the top GMs, like, we always like drafting shortstops because they can play like any position eventually, right? So
Sure.
like Gary Sheffield was a shortstop, and then he was like, okay, I need to be in the outfield a little bit more. So Colson's a pretty big shortstop, and not to say that Derek Jeter can prove that, and Troy Tulowitzki that you can be big and play shortstop, but if Tim Anderson really is what we believe to be the long-term White Sox shortstop of the future and everything, so if that's the case, then hey, where's Colson going to play? Like, he doesn't fit the mold of a second baseman, so then he's got to fit outfield. And then it's like, okay, well, is he going to be right, left, or center? Obviously, like, he might be a couple years away, but it's better late. It's better time to, I guess, try now. And then yeah, maybe take like, I don't know, like a Cole Calhoun or something like that, kind of like as a, fixer or as a placeholder, if you will, until Colson Montgomery is ready. I think, that's an option if we don't feel like Oscar Colas is the person there. So, but yeah, I think them, Cole Calhoun, Steven Piscotty, I think I'm looking at some names here on like MLB's list of position players that are still available. Jackie Bradley Jr. That could be a fun one, right? So
He's a Gamecock. I mean, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, okay, there we go. So yeah, I think someone like that, Roman Quinn, get a little bit of speed there. I know we did sign Billy Hamilton, right? So which he was there during our last playoff run and everything. So if that's like the last outfield signing, I don't know how I would feel about that, but yeah, I think those are kind of the players I'm looking at. Trade, I did mention, I guess, Varsho. I think that would be so good. Again, it's like Grandal from the defensive standpoint, from the catcher. Again, catcher's kind of like great if he can hit, right? But it's much more about the defense. So like, I don't mind him, I guess, being there, but at the same time, like, you definitely want more of that pop there. So if we can get a Varsho, kind of spell him ever so often, get those at bats. I think that would be great. And then play the outfield here and there too. So I think that versatility is definitely helpful. But yeah, I think those are kind of the players I'm looking at there. And then so kind of just a makeshift, but nothing that I see is too exciting at this point. But yeah, do you have anybody in the outfield that you would love to have?
Yeah, I mean, Varsho, like you said, I mean, he'd be versatile out in the outfield, and then you could spell him at catcher. I mean, he had one of the top D WARs, I think, last year of any position player. I think he was like top 5 on that list. But I mean, excellent defender, so that'd be nice to have as well. I guess just given the theme of it being a wish list, what do I wish? I wish we had Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I think the Yankees would too. Word is out of Pittsburgh that Ben Cherington is like asking for the moon for this guy because he's controllable through 26. He's a 3-WAR player. He had 27 home runs last year, and they really wanted him to be part of the team, even though he requested to be traded. So, based on what they're asking for, they want a lot of pitching depth in a trade. So Yankees are kind of flush with position players. I just don't know how our pitching depth stacks up against, other teams' farms. Is a Norge Vera or Schultz interesting? Would we part with one or two of them? Would we part with Reynaldo Lopez in that kind of deal? Would it require an Oscar Colas to be, attached to it, because obviously they'd want to replace his bat. So it's like, it might cost a fortune, maybe a higher fortune than the White Sox would want to pay in draft capital. But in the same sense, would I rather do that than to cut our arm off, while we're still, cutting off like a Liam Hendricks from the team when we're trying to go for it all, we'd have that guy under our team, controlled until 2026 on a, team friendly deal. So again, like, if you want to play with the big boys, you got to make big moves. And, I might push my chips in for a guy like that.
Yeah. Would you get rid of like Garrett Crochet? Like, who would you want to get rid of in order to get that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, if because number one, Crochet, he throws hard, and, he's already had multiple, injuries at his age, and we haven't really established, is he just a setup man? Is he a closer? Is he a swing guy? Is he a starter? Like, I think for me, like, you can throw in as many flamethrower types as you want into a deal like that. If we're getting back an all-star caliber outfielder, I think, where it gets tough is when you've seen a guy who's maybe a little bit more proven on the, MLB level at the starting position. Like, if we're throwing Kopech with, a Vera, and then giving them, one or two more interesting players like a Cespedes and a Colas, or, Lenin Sosa, with Colas or something like that. That's where it's like, all right, now we're really starting to tear apart what would be, the next round of guys. And yeah, I mean, it's got to be for the right player, I guess. But yeah, I'd much rather get rid of a Crochet than a Kopech any day.
Yeah, for sure. And with Kopech, like, he was kind of like on a pitch count, right? I think it's funny is that he's the same age as Dylan Cease, right? He just had more, body issues and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on that in that sense. So like I do want to see though what Kershaw can do, like coming after Tommy John. Like you've always heard, like these pitchers come out after Tommy John, they're just like throwing faster. Like I don't know how he can, but it'd be great if he could. So yeah, we'd love to see that. I did have one other one, I guess I thought of Ian Happ, right? I think that's one in that's been tossed around a little bit. I mean, we're kind of seeing the Cubs like, okay, we weren't able to land like Carlos Correa or some of these other players. Like they definitely improved with like Cody Bellinger here and there as well. So, but I think Ian Happ could be an interesting one, if they're like, hey, let's offload some talent. Yeah, like I think we've always tossed Lennon Sosa just to see, what can we get out there. So, if we were to toss him, trade him for Ian Happ, like that could be, I think that could be kind of intriguing for the Cubs standpoint. So, and then, yeah, we get a player, that, is familiar with Chicago, doesn't have to change his address or anything like that. And yeah, has been a kind of a formidable player, for the Cubs there. So, during all those trade transitions and things like that. So, and I think he's a decent overall baseball player overall. So, I think he could be an interesting fit. And that's, yeah, given a decent cost, it's like Lennon Sosa for Ian Happ. Like, I'll take that actually. I think that's for a decent outfielder. I think it's better than getting AJ Pollock, in that sense. So, I don't know, that might be something. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Northsiders are probably really scared to deal with us now that we've, taken Eloy Jimenez, Dylan Cease, and, got Kimbrel for, Nick Madrigal, who did absolutely nothing for them so far. And I think he's like kind of on the block for them. In any case, as far as outfielders go, I mean, there's a few other names that I have here. Deals could be pretty interesting, but I'm looking at like Alex Verdugo, possibly a Jesse Winker, a Jake Fraley, Seth Brown. I've heard we've had conversations with the Athletics about him, but for any of these guys, I mean, like a Verdugo, for example, I know like Boston, is somewhat competing, I guess, but again, it'd probably go back to like a Giolito package, or, if we're going for Winker, I think it would cost a lot less because he's, due $7 million a year with Milwaukee now. And I don't think they really want to hold him, but whoever we give them in return would probably be, eating his salary. So again, it's like, what kind of payroll flexibility do we have? But I think other than that, I think, the other, Jake Fraley types, Seth Brown types on Oakland, I think these guys can be had at the right price. I mean, I think they're still controllable, getting in their later 30s, or, Seth Brown, I think, is 30, but it's like, we're kind of looking for a guy who can hold the role for like a year. And then from there, like, is Oscar Colas ever going to be ready? Or, do we consider, the next step? So, just some names out there, but overall, I want to get more athletic out there. Guy who's probably going to hit from the left side, can get on base, have some pop. We want the world, obviously, if like a Brian Reynolds came over and could hit 30 bombs for us, like could be an all-star, that'd be the dream. But in reality, I just want somebody who's above league average, who is going to play decent defense and won't, screw the whole thing up.
Yeah, no, I'm the same boat with you. Would you do Kopech for Reynolds?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if it was just a 1-for-1, like, yeah, I could do that, because I feel like, the money would kind of be a wash. We still don't know what we have in Kopech, honestly. I like obviously the upside and his name cachet, and like what he's shown so far, I think has been pretty promising. But it's like, anybody who comes in who's I worry about guys who throw really, really hard, and that's like what they're going to bank their pitching game on, because you never know, what kind of longevity they're going to have. I mean, I'd much rather have a Dylan Cease type where, he's cruising through the minors and, putting up great numbers, and doesn't have to like completely blow you away with a 99 mile per hour, 100 mile per hour, fastball to get his game, on the right track. But he's definitely improved his velocity over the years. I just feel like, yeah, if you're going to give me an all-star outfielder for, a high upside right now, number 4 or 5 starter, like, I would do that, because I think, again, we can go back to the well and hopefully find a guy like Johnny Cueto who can, help us in the back end. But yeah, I mean, if Kopech became the next Garrett Cole, like, that would also, really hurt. I feel like what's the downside of Reynolds? Like he'll bat 270 with 20 home runs and he'll play, good outfield. Like that's a good gamble when you're trying to go for it all.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Reynolds has had, a great start to his career. I think we've played like 3-4 seasons now. You kind of know what to expect. Like he's had like an OPS, I think above 800, I think for all his years. So, for a pitcher that, hasn't kind of reached his full potential, we've kind of thrown that potential around with Kopech. He's almost 27, I think, or he's about to turn 27. So like, that's like prime years for a pitcher and everything. And, he's still on pitch count. So like we're kind of treating him like a 22-year-old, just out of college pitcher who's trying to transition there. But, he's definitely battled through injury and things like that. So, if we were to trade like Kopech and like Lennon Sosa for like a Reynolds, like I would definitely do that, So, but yeah, it really depends, I think, on kind of what the Pirates want in that sense. But yeah, like, I think there's a lot of flexibility, I think, from the White Sox perspective. And hey, yeah, maybe part of it's just taking that gamble and seeing if we can get some of these players that have good track records from some players that just haven't hit their full potential, I think, with us. So
yeah, I think, looking at Kopech, he's at 134 innings he's maxed out at in the minors. I mean, that's the most amount of innings he's thrown in 1 year. I think the way baseball's trending, and if you have a guy like him on your rotation, I think the smart thing to do is to go with a 6-man rotation or, give him breaks throughout the middle of the year, whatever else you need to do to kind of ramp him up for the end of season. I feel like that's the reason why I thought, bringing back, Cueto, even when we signed Clevenger, would have been a smart play, because it's like we've got some guys who've, dealt with some injuries. We're going to need some depth there. Can Davis Martin be that, 5th, 6th starter? I don't know. And I don't know if that's going to play, for a team that's trying to go deep into the playoffs. So, I know we're kind of tight with cap flexibility, just according to Jerry, but it's like, yeah, it'd just be nice to know we have like one more guy we can go to for quality starts, like when we need it.
Yeah, like I know I definitely agree with that. It's like, we needed some good spot starters here and there for sure. Like Ronaldo Lopez definitely has done that, and so I'm like, okay, like I think that's the beauty of Ronaldo Lopez. But then it's like, is there going to be a definite shift where he's going to be, like a setup man, right? And that's where I'm kind of like, he could trend towards that way, or we just see him like, hey, as this good player that like, okay, we get Kopech for his 5 or 6 innings, right? And then let's see if he can just like do 7 or 8 or something like that. Or 6 and 7. If that's the case, then okay, hey, that's the new baseball, and let's let Ronaldo Lopez just own that. But I feel like for him, spot starter here and there, I guess that's okay. I mean, I would be comfortable with him kind of just doing that going on forth, heading into next season. But at the same time, I know it's like, but what am I? What am I to you guys? I'm like, one of your best bullpen. And then it's like, okay, but I want to be the setup man because I want to get paid like a good setup man. So I don't know. It'll be interesting what happens.
Yeah, I like Ronaldo as a pitcher, and he obviously showed that being a reliever is probably his strength versus being a starter based on a lot of the bad seasons that we had with him early on. But, he's found his way in that bullpen, and he can do the swingman gig. He can do, the late relief. I think they're kind of priming him to be the next closer, and I think that's kind of what the impetus for some of these Hendricks trade talks have all been about. But it's like, can we trust Reynaldo to go out there and, mentally be able to close games, from day one? It's like, it's a lot to ask from him if he has never really done it, for a team that, again, is trying to go deep into the playoffs. So, the thing is, I like where our team's at. I know we had like the most catastrophic last year of all time. Obviously, guys got to stay way more healthy this year. We need like 75 to 80% of, their health this year versus, whatever it was, 50% around that mark. Like that really killed us, and we were still a 500 team. So it's like, just look around, we've got some holes, but I don't think we're in the worst situation, especially in the AL Central. I think, people are making a lot of this Guardians team. I don't feel it the same way others do around the league. The Twins, they just lost Correa. They didn't really come back with much in this offseason so far. I'm not really, fretting them. And Byron Buxton, who can't really stay healthy as well. So it's like, I don't really think we're competing with a whole lot. It's just kind of, I think a lot of people just have that bad taste on their mouths, and they're just like, well, this team needs to win it this year, or it's over. And I'm just not seeing it that way.
Yeah, I think a healthy 2023 season, because we gotta look at our roster too. It's like two of the top three players that we, in terms of plate appearances, right, have left. AJ Pollock, I think he was the number 2 in terms of plate appearances, number 2 or 3. Number 1 was Jose Abreu. So those guys are gone now. Who's gonna come up as a bat, right? So everybody's gonna be playing more. That Andrew Vaughn definitely gonna play more. If some players can't stay healthy, then some other players are gonna step up. Gavin Sheets, whomever, right? So yeah, I definitely think that this is going to be a year where it's like, okay, we're transitioning from Jose Abreu. Now, who are all these players that we've had, team-friendly type of contracts? Are you guys going to, perform to your best? Yohan Moncada, we're definitely thinking of him. And then the rest of the players, can you stay healthy? Can we get more than 500 plate appearances from you? Because, yeah, we didn't see that this previous year, and that really hurt the team overall. So, but, new hitting coach, I think I'm very excited about that. Frank Menechino, very anemic offense since his tenure here. Once he hit the door, it was like, oh, let's just go the batting average route. I think he was trying to play the whole, replicate the whole like Kansas City Royals type of squad. When they had like Lorenzo Cain, kind of the batting average, type of players get on base and then kill you on the base pads a little bit. This roster is not built for that. This roster is built for slugging it a little bit more. And I think they kind of lost their a little bit of their attitude on that. And so that's something where I'm very excited about Jose Castro, coming in as he was the hitting assistant coach for the Braves. And it's like that Braves roster is kind of like what, I think a lot of us imagined the White Sox to be essentially, right? Like, yeah, obviously want to be healthy, but you look at the roster, bunch of young talent, bunch of team friendly controlled players, but they're all hitting. They're all, for the most part, hitting pretty well and everything, right? I think some up and downs here and there, but for the most part, like a lot of the young talent's been hitting and contributing, and I think that's essentially what we're kind of missing. So I'm hoping that, yeah, Jose Castro and the new regime kind of push that forth. With Pedro as well, the new manager and everything. So yeah, very excited to think about the future here. So yeah.
Yeah, I think things are looking up if Robert, Jimenez, Moncada, and TA can all, get to more complete seasons, fuller seasons, just play the, game of baseball the way they know how to do it. I mean, we were talking about Robert as an MVP candidate going into last year. I mean, Jimenez, we've been talking 40, 45 home runs, upside for that kind of guy. It's like, that's where the power is going to come from. That's why I was okay with the Benintendi signing. A guy like Andrew Vaughn taking another step. That's why I was okay with the Abreu, non-re-sign decision. It's like, you got to look at what these guys can do if they're healthy and, again, playing to some of their potential. I don't think it's a pipe dream to think these guys can do that kind of thing. So I think we're in good shape. We can get in better shape for sure. But, I think with that, pretty good overview of, our Sox wish list, what we want to see from each one of these positions. Wayne, did you have any final thoughts here, baseball or otherwise?
Just want to wish everybody a happy holiday. Definitely. I could not keep that beard on. I could not or anything like that. It was bugging me. There was I don't know, an OCD, like a little bit of tissue paper, whatever is there. But yeah, I just hope everybody has a happy, healthy, safe holiday and everything. Yeah, it's getting a little. I think there's like some snowstorms, I guess, coming around the Chicagoland area. So yeah, hopefully y'all. I went to Jewel this morning actually, and just got a bunch of soup. I just got a bunch of soup.
What kind?
Was the Amy's kind, whatever. Like, yeah, like got Southwest chilies and like tortillas or whatever. It was like a sale. It was like I think it was like $6 for 2 of them or something like that. Which, it's a little bit of a nicer canned soup, like because of the packaging, or whatever. But I'll definitely take that. I feel like, yeah, just having like. Yeah, I like a little bit of spice in my soup rather than just like taking like a New England clam chowder or something like that. I feel like during the winter, like you need that spice. So yeah,
that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't come here with any really good final closing thoughts. I mean, yeah, I mean, Christmas right around the corner. I don't know, Wayne, do you have any like, I don't know, special pastimes or things that you eat around this time of year, or, things that your family will put out as far as spread goes?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've talked about, the family, one family member, we call her nanny, right? She's everybody's nanny essentially, right? So, but yeah, she has this fried rice, right? It's like perfection. It's not too greasy. And it has like barbecue. It's like barbecue pork fried rice. But yeah, like she doesn't. It's like, oftentimes I think for fried rice, it's like the most greasiest thing ever. But for her, it's like it's super clean. Like I feel healthy eating this fried rice, and it's like nowhere else can I find it from any restaurant type of thing. So I definitely prefer it, and it's like all the ingredients are fresh. Like has like some fresh, nicely cut onions and things like that, like green onions, right? To kind of give that a little bit more of a crisp taste to it. It's like it's a whole nother level, I feel like, for me. So that was actually a special request from my dad. My dad just celebrated his 76th birthday actually last night. That was a specific request from him. It's like, I need Nanny's fried rice, to live another year. Like it's good for the soul, So yeah, I think that's one dish for sure that I'm glad I took home last night. So yeah, but do you got any of your own?
Man, like not really. I mean, to be honest with you, our holiday party might be kind of in flux right now. Everybody's getting sick. We have some COVID going around in multiple parts of family. And then I've heard a little RSV is going around for another part of the family. So wishing everybody out there, a healthy, winter here, because everybody wants to enjoy the holidays. And, I feel like it's kind of been crippling these last few years with, all this stuff going around. But one thing I am kind of interested in is actually had some great wings a few weeks ago. There is a place in Northern Virginia that's owned by a family from Buffalo, and they basically started a tavern. It's called Jimmy's Old Town Tavern, but they serve Buffalo-style wings there. And I had them a few weeks back just to try it out because they made one of the local area lists. And man, just plump, like tasted great, really, good sauce, a little unique, like peppery with the buffalo sauce. And my brother's actually going to come visit this weekend. So I told him, like, hey man, I'm not kidding you. Like, these are some of the best wings I've had. Like, we're going to go check this out. And he's like, yeah, sign me up. So that'll probably be the highlight of eating, I think, for, this holiday season. But other than that, I mean, I can usually expect family to bring stuff from like Wegmans, the grocery chain, and it'll be like, deli platters and like pretty much all that ready-made stuff. And I don't know, everybody kind of brings a potluck here and there, I feel like, to most of these parties. So I'll be sure to report back. I'll make sure to add this to my next final thought, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, I had two thoughts or two questions for you there. Are you gonna go to like TGI Fridays after, or get the swings, or what?
Man, is that your first question, or you have another question?
That was my first one. I can roll into the next one, but yeah, no, it's awesome. It's fun. It's not actually a question, it's a statement. But yeah, the last time, it's funny, I went to New York. That time I went to see Aaron Judge, I guess, hit his 61st homer and everything like that. But I like, everybody's asking me, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? You know what place I said? I said Wegmans, actually. It's like, I want to go to your grocery store because I hear like it's got great ratings and everything. Like, all these places say it's like, one of the best places to work at. And I'm like, a grocery store? So like, how much enjoyment can you get like serving cheese, I guess, or whatever? So, but yeah, it seemed like Wegmans is like an institution, I think, in the East Coast. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Out here, it's good. I mean, I'm not a super fan of it. I don't have to. We have one in our like neighborhood. I don't have to go there all the time to grab it. I'm a Costco guy. But I will say, like, their ready-made seafood stuff, they've got pretty good Italian to go. They have like a deli counter, so you can pretty much order any kind of sub you want. I feel like they do that stuff really well. Their produce is really fresh, so that's always like a plus. But yeah, no, it's decent. And yeah, for parties, large gatherings and stuff, I feel like they've got all that stuff just ready to go, and it's affordable enough. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But TGI Fridays, you're dead to me. I will never ever go to TGI Fridays for the rest of my life. I will try Chili's again. It's been nearly 20 years at this point. So Chili's, I'm coming for you at some point. But yeah, man, I just can't, like, that was just such a disappointment. Yeah, these wings that I'm gonna have are man, they're in the super heavyweight category, and that welterweight, lightweight wing from TGI Friday is just, it was bad, man. That thing was burnt, and they were crap, dude. So yeah, I'm done with that. I'm kind of done with the bigger chain, like the named franchises in a sense. I'm kind of getting tired of shrinkflation and kind of standards being dropped and us having to pay for it. And nowadays, like, you don't even get a deal with those kinds of places. So if you're going to get a deal, like, just go to a mom and pop that knows how to do it right, and, kind of support your local economy and communities in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. Yeah. You can only sacrifice so much of your dignity, I feel like, so yeah. You can't put a price on dignity. So eat well out there. Yeah.
For sure. Well, yeah, hope everybody has some good eating, some good family time for Christmas. We're hoping the White Sox put a couple nice presents under our tree going into 2023. Really excited for the year coming up. I mean, I know there's been a lot of, I would say apathy or, anger towards this club. And, they're not spending like the Mets or the Padres or, the Yankees or other big clubs. But I think if they can string most of this roster together, could we find our way back into the playoffs and give it a shot? Like, we've got a chance. So, let's have some more hope here going into the new year.
Yeah, for sure. Hope, man. Gotta believe. Go Ted Lasso on this, So, yeah. All right. But yeah, hope, everybody has a great, safe, happy holiday, and take care all.